Melissa likely to become a major hurricane on tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for October 23rd. So the busy pattern continues across the tropics right now, but increasingly it is Melissa taking up most of the limelight. It still hasn't developed any further at this point, and that is potentially a bad thing because it is tracking further towards the west and could develop much more substantially later on if it does continue westerly through the Caribbean Sea. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of that in a second. Day 145 of hurricane season, the watches are still the same as they were at this point yesterday in our bulletin. Hurricane watch for southwestern Haiti, tropical storm watch for Jamaica, even though they're in more of the cone than Haiti is at this point. Melissa still with 50-mile-per-hour winds. In the eastern Pacific, we've got an area of interest there that now has a 60% chance of development, mainly towards the end of the forecast period, day 5. Could become a tropical storm, probably won't last very long or get very strong. Well, in the western Pacific, Fengshen is a thing of the past. It's a remnant low and still hasn't reached the coast of Vietnam yet, not quite. Area of interest moving through the Batanes Islands shouldn't develop anymore. And another area of interest that we're now watching for next week, 30% chance, 20% chance actually, in the South China Sea. Two areas of interest in the North Indian Ocean right now, K10 there on the left-hand side, which is also known as 92A. Looks like it's going to progress further towards the north now and could affect the west coast of India. And on the east coast, another system possibly developing soon, R10, which could become a tropical storm for the eastern coast of India. Cyclone Chenge is still active and still looking fairly decent, although it is now starting to weaken a little bit. It's getting very close to Agalega, a small island in the southwest Indian Ocean, and then we'll be heading towards the northern coast of Madagascar with tropical storm force winds. There's another area of interest over there as well in the southern Indian Ocean. 40% chance still at this point, I think it was there, but it is pretty much at its peak right now and it hasn't managed to develop, so it's going to struggle. Southern Pacific looking quiet. Here's Melissa then right now, 50-mile-an-hour winds, pressure 999 millibars, near 14.7 north, 74.1 degrees west. The western side of the storm is really struggling for winds right now, and Recon are confirming that with their latest updates that they're in the storm right now. 361 kilometers from Cabo de la Vela in Colombia, 382 from Les Cayes in Haiti, 438 from Cabo Rojo towards the east, 419 from Morant Bay on the eastern side of Jamaica, and 460 from the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince. Here's the forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center, who are now calling for a Category 4 on Thursday. By that point, they expect it to be south of Jamaica, but look at the enormous, gargantuan cone of uncertainty, certainly for this day and age. And looking at the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities, well, it's safe to say that Haiti and Jamaica have elevated chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, and it's really pivoting more towards Jamaica at this point. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you're always in touch with the latest tropical cyclone updates, as well as following us on social media. And you can also join our Discord server for tropical weather chat at any time on discord.gg/force13. Let's check in with the latest satellite imagery then. This is COD sandwich imagery showing the rapid scan, GOES 19, of Melissa's progress right now. Recon data is just coming in as I'm delivering this update. So far they have found very few winds obviously on the western side because it is just so open. Look at that. On the east side earlier on they saw 50 knot flight level winds at times, and it's been pretty steady throughout the course of today. Pressure's been gradually, very slowly falling, probably around 999 millibars now, although it could still be just a touch higher. Storm's motion at the moment looks like it's moving westwards. Certainly when I was trying to capture the open circulation that's almost getting out from underneath that convection earlier on, it looked like it was going west, but later indications from Recon so far are suggesting that it may have just gone a little bit northwest, so struggling to picture all of this. Nonetheless, it is moving very, very slowly still at this point, so really it's anyone's guess. There's some crude radar imagery right now showing some significant rain showers going on over the Dominican Republic and for parts of Haiti. As we move on to the next storm, Cyclone Chenge, not looking quite as good as it did yesterday, it has to be said, but still really putting up a spirited effort. Let's not forget, it is very unusual for a substantial storm like this to be active in this area at this time of year, but don't forget, it is already the 4th one here. Such an anomalistic start to the Southern Hemisphere Southwest Indian Ocean season. Getting very close to Agalega, it's just outside of the convective influence of the storm there. Convection profile has been marred quite a lot in latest frames there as well. Well, this is what's left of Fengshen right now, really not looking very good, and it happened so quickly over the course of just a 12-hour period after last night's tropical weather bulletin. It went from a tropical storm with 50 to 60 mile per hour winds down to absolutely nothing, and there it is at this point, really not seeing much convective showers occurring over the coast of Vietnam either, so rainfall is going to be somewhat limited, although a few areas may get some really sharp thunderstorms which could cause some flash flooding. Invest 95S is also starting to suffer just a little bit in my opinion, looking a little bit more disjointed right now. ASCAP passes from earlier on had it almost having a circulation but not quite, certainly a strong southern side to it, it's just the northern side that's been struggling, convection getting quite high as well, but this is pretty much the peak of this system right now, so chances are only going to go down if it's not forming at this point. Here's MS97W, another one that is on its way down, but reaching the Batanes Islands right now, and certainly some significant thunderstorms blowing up over those islands. So certainly some heavy rainfall there as it continues that movement southwest. It's certainly got something about it, but chances are vanishing for development, now only about 20%. But still affecting those areas. There's some radar imagery as well of it trying to get that circulation out of Taiwan, certainly throwing up some vicious storm rain showers by the looks of things there on some of those northernmost Batanes Islands. This is Invest 92A, the one that we've been watching for quite a while in the Arabian Sea, and is still looking its usual self, ridiculously broad to the point where we couldn't really call a centre on this one at all, but we still think that it's got a shot of becoming a tropical cyclone much later on in the weekend into early next week as it gets close to the coast of India near Gujarat. Looking at a wide shot then of the Atlantic Ocean and showing you that Melissa is not the smallest storm, certainly got quite a bit about it on its eastern and southern side, and a few little bands that are spuriously associated with the storm extending up now through the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands. In the Eastern Pacific, we're still not looking at too much right now, but entering the screen slowly from the right-hand side will be that next area of interest in a few days. We'll probably switch satellites for that on our next bulletin, but what's left of that other area of interest over there as well, very little. Western Pacific, Philippine region. Apart from the two systems that we've been talking about, there's quite a bit of convective activity near Palawan and the Sulu Sea. And in the Bay of Bengal, quite a lot of monsoonal activity displaced towards the southern part of the Bay of Bengal, looking out for that area of interest which should be spawning any time. Arabian Sea, huge dry air mass, which is certainly going to be something that 92A will be contending with. So I'm not sure how well it's going to do against all of that. Certainly doesn't look good from that angle. And looking at a wide shot of the southwest Indian Ocean, you can see those two cyclones, well, one cyclone and one nearly cyclone. Chenge moving westwards, some indications that it will still make it to the coast of Tanzania. And looking towards the Australian region, quite dry in the north, but in the south, another frontal system moving through Western Australia, the Perth region, and also more activity extending eastwards. South Pacific, a massive extratropical cyclone down there near the bottom, but in general, it is looking rather quiet. Well, sea surface temperatures are definitely not going to be of any concern for Melissa. They're piping hot, 29 to 30 degrees Celsius minimum, and it's going to get even warmer if it does trend further west towards the Cayman Islands, and that is the hotspot of the Atlantic, 32 degrees over there right now. Along the coast of Mexico, temperatures are looking good, 30 degrees plus. A little bit further out, temperatures are also decent for that invest, which will be around 28 plus, at least for a few days. And the Western Pacific also looking very good in the Philippine Sea, 30 degrees plus. South China Sea, One or two little cool patches now, but still very warm in a lot of those areas. Plenty enough for more tropical cyclones. Bay of Bengal around 28 to 29 degrees Celsius. Those broad systems really need to get their act together if they're going to develop in this area. Arabian Sea, even more of a struggle with those temperatures much cooler towards the west. And they're below average over there towards western Arabian Sea and down into parts of the southwest Indian Ocean, but there are a few places that are above average as well. In the southeast Indian Ocean, very much above average, heading towards Australia. Western Pacific as a whole is above average, more notably in the subtropical zones. La Nina effect still showing its hand in the eastern Pacific, but a few warm spots still, and the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico still around 3 degrees above average. Oceanic heat content is still looking very good for the Western Pacific, which is looking at its maximum points just off the coast of the Philippines, which is always a concern for late season activity, which we could still see quite a bit. In the Atlantic, of course, those temperatures, those oceanic heat content values are off the charts across large parts of where Melissa is going, which is why we're all very concerned about it. I don't think I need to tell you what some models have been saying about what to expect from Melissa today. I wouldn't put much faith into them, but I'll tell you what the GFS is showing, which is still hanging on to that eastward solution, which not many models are doing. That's why the National Hurricane Center has pivoted westwards. But the GFS is still hanging on to this eastward scenario, which would mean a weaker storm through Hispaniola, and then a much larger system forming out the other end of it, but weaker than what the scenarios are saying if the storm moves further west. I say this is still unlikely that it is going to move further west, probably through or just west of Jamaica as a major hurricane would be my forecast right now, and then probably onto Cuba. But it could still move further west and become even stronger. Chenge there, looking at its forecast over the next few days, pretty much westward movement, maybe a slight jog northerly there, and then eventually reaching the coast of Africa. Still could be a tropical cyclone by then, delivering tropical storm force winds to Agalega, and possibly some of the Seychelles, onto the northernmost tip of Madagascar, and possibly for the Comoros Islands as well. Next system there dying off behind it, that one that we've been tracking as well. Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, well, we're looking for that next storm forming over there in the Bay of Bengal, and it eventually does there, trying to get itself together. A very broad system in the end, loses it a little bit, tries to get it back. The Arabian Sea, that system trying to develop there as well in that 5-day period, looking like it's going to be the 25th, 26th when that circulation tries to get itself together. There it is, storm force winds for Gujarat, and then it moves off towards the west and sinks back southwards again. So we've got to add a big PSA about whether this will be correct or not, but the rainfall expectations for Melissa, basically if the storm does move further west, just apply these rainfall amounts to wherever the storm ends up hitting, whether it's Jamaica, Cuba, even further west. We could be seeing wherever the storm lands, rainfall amounts of over 30 inches of rain, quite possible there, especially over mountains. That is 750 millimeters of rainfall. But with the track so uncertain, I wouldn't put much faith into this particular rainfall map. Longer range, day 5 to 10, it becomes even more sketchy for Melissa. Now the ridging is keeping it further south, briefly reaching major hurricane status. Don't forget, this is just if the GFS is correct, and at the moment that is looking more unlikely than likely. It's just because it's the only model we can show you on these graphics. But there it is, pitching much further eastwards, and it's approaching the island of Madeira by the end of that 10-day period as a hurricane. That would be even crazier. Well, not quite even crazier than what some models are predicting, but a very crazy scenario nonetheless. Bay of Bengal, look at that, as a round 2 for 92A. It develops again after it sinks southwards, and this time reaches hurricane equivalent status before reaching the coast near Mumbai, and then moving inland much later on in that 10-day period. So a really crazy scenario. If anything like that happens, I have serious reservations. Check out our store page for Force 13 related merch, as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request by you. Also, if you like our work, please check out our YouTube memberships. Check the join page on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/force13/join. Well, let's take a look at the fantasy range, and I'm afraid it gets even worse. Melissa possibly delivers hurricane force winds to Madeira and then makes landfall as a tropical storm in Morocco. Enough said, I think. That's the GFS scenario for Melissa, but let me just quantify once again. A lot of other models right now are taking it to different places. The CMC is taking it to New York. The ECMWF is taking it to Atlantic Canada. The HAFS models, which are ones that everyone's going crazy about right now because they're showing the storm so incredibly strong, Category 5 plus, are taking it pretty much due west all across the Caribbean. Well, back to October 23rd, 1972, where we had a few other systems active, but the main one was a fairly anomalous Category 3 major hurricane equivalent storm making landfall in Fiji right now, Cyclone Beeb, which was right on the edge of the global view there on the right-hand side. We also had Tropical Storm Olga in the Western Pacific, which was shutting out Tropical Depression Nancy, and Cyclone 12A in the Arabian Sea, also quite an anomaly, very close to Socorro Island, I believe that one is. I forget the name, it's either Socorro or Socotra, I get confused between those two. But a very anomalous storm as well, that one was. Back to this year, the Atlantic's next name is Nestor, but we're quite busy with Melissa right now. In the Eastern Pacific, it will be Sonia, and in the Central Pacific, it's Lala. In the Western Pacific, the next name is Kalmegi, and in the North Indian Ocean, it will be Mantha. So far, we have had 87 storms around the world in 2025, just 5 away from the annual average, with over 2 months still to go. In the Australian region, the next name is Fina. The Southwest Indian Ocean, Dudsai, and in the South Pacific, Ermil. Our automated stream on Melissa is running right now on our YouTube channel. Check it out. It will have updates and the latest information and imagery.